In today's video, I'm gonna give you 7 tips, practical tips that are easy to understand that can help your lawn thrive this summer. Maybe not thrive for some of you, maybe it's just survival mode, but to give you the information you need so you're not making costly mistakes. Today's video is sponsored by Graham Spray Equipment. I do weed control and fertilization. You can see my Graham spray rig on the back of my truck in the background. If you need a spray rig for your business or thinking about getting into weed control and fertilization, then go to grahamse.com or give those guys a call. It's been hot today. We've got some clouds in the sky, but right now we're talking about the lawn, and you can see this lawn already showing the effects of summer, the hot weather. So what are we gonna do about it? What can we do to improve it? And what are some of the weaknesses we see from a lawn that's struggling with the hot weather? This example is Bermuda grass lawn, but I think some of the principles I can share with you can be applied to other grass types, particularly warm season grasses. But with our cool season grasses, you know, you got to at least water them and help them to survive the hot weather so that you don't lose the whole lawn when it's not exactly ideal growing season. So the first thing I want to talk about in the summer lawn care is your mowing height and your mowing frequency. I'm going to give you an example and show you what I'm talking about. Now, this is Bermuda grass again. If you see this, let me just stick my foot in this grass and you can see, I mean, this grass is swallowing my boot. Okay, so I mean, this is legitimately, I don't know, 8 to 10 inches tall. What you don't want to do is let your grass get this tall and then say, oh, you know, I'm tired of mowing the grass, I'm just going to whack it back down to 2 inches. That is not going to work well, especially with Bermuda grass lawn. Chances are if you do that, you're going to greatly stress out the grass and leave a lot of brown in here. So as you can see, as you kind of part the sea here, you get down there, there is a lot of brown. And as you get closer to fall, and I know we're talking about summer here, but it ends up being oftentimes where just the tip of it is green. And so if you take off, the rule of thumb is more than a third of the blade of grass, you're gonna greatly remove a lot of the color from it. So my recommendation is, one, don't let it get this tall. But if it is tall, you're gonna have to kind of take it down in layers. You know, let's just say you haven't been mowing it regular enough. Let's just take it, you know, take it down a couple inches this time, and then next time we can take it down a little bit lower, mowing it more frequently. So for our warm season grasses, they can really take off and start growing in the summer, and that frequency of mowing is very important. So I'm gonna say, you know, at least once a week if you've got a Bermuda yard that's being fertilized, that's receiving plenty of irrigation, plenty of water, then, you know, bi-weekly mowing is going to be tough. If you do that, you're going to probably have to gradually raise the cutting height each time. I do that on my own yard and I cut it more frequently, but I still find myself gradually raising the cutting height. It might just be a 1/4 of an inch per time because, one, I don't want to mow the grass every 3 or 4 days to keep it low, and I don't want to take the color out of it. So I'll just say, you know what, it may be a week, maybe even 10 days sometimes when I cut the grass in my house. But to keep from stressing out, I can raise that mowing height. Now, again, if you want to mow it a lot, then you can keep it short. Again, the rule of thumb there, not mowing off more than a third of the blade of grass. Second tip I want to talk about in this video is the seed heads. Let me show you what those look like, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So you notice the grass I showed you just then, you didn't see a seed head even though it was pretty long. But then you might get into some grass like this where you actually do see the seed head. And this is on a Bermuda grass lawn, and you see what it looks like. I don't know how many people I've had ask me, let me find a better example. You see here, look at this. All right, so this grass, look at the color of it compared to the greener grass. Now this is a hybrid Bermuda, so it doesn't go to seed nearly as quickly. And you can see this. I've had several people over the years who say, I've got weeds all over my yard. What weed is this? And I say, oh, that's actually the seed head on your grass. I mean, that's just what it does. Now, common Bermuda is going to go to seed much quicker, and other grass, you know, think about Bahia grass. That's one that's kind of notorious for putting up a big stalk, at least in our area. But that seed head sometimes can be and the seed head can be an indicator that maybe something else is going on with the yard. So you see over here where it looks healthier and greener, there's not as many seed heads. But when you get over here where it's stressed out and dry, it's going to seed quicker. So sometimes the seed head can be an indicator, and this is a tip, that your water is not sufficient enough for the lawn. So it's low on water, or maybe just low on nutrients. So maybe you want to put some more nitrogen to the lawn to help it not go to seed as quickly. Now, here's the classic Bahia grass stalk there. Now, if that doesn't work, and sometimes people can do this even on a cool season lawn, if you've got a cool season lawn with Poa annua in it, you can use what's called a growth regulator. So I've got one called Podium. There's one called T-Nex, the same active ingredient. It even comes in granular forms. But you can put a growth regulator on there and it will not only reduce the amount of mowing you have to do, and that's also good if you want to keep it nice and low, but also keep it from going to seed nearly as fast. So again, may need water, may need fertilizer, and a growth regulator can also suppress that seed head, but it's not a weed, that's just normal growth pattern of the grass. The third tip has to do with weed control. I'm going to show you a couple products I'll use a lot in the summertime. I'll oftentimes mix my products up in a little handheld sprayer like this. I don't use the gram rig as much for like blanket applications in the summertime. Now, if I am going to do a blanket application, I might use a product called Change Up at a low rate, like 16 ounces per acre, and another product or active ingredient is called methylfuron. So that comes under the name MSM Turf or Manor, and you can put that in an extremely low rate of a 1/4 ounce per acre, a 1/3 ounce per acre in a big tank or ride-on machine. And if you do that, you can blanket a yard and get things like spurge. But one of the things you want to be careful of in the summer is the hot weather. And so what you can do is spray in the morning or in the evening before the weather gets so hot. And again, not blanket yards as much as you would when the temperatures are cooler. So what I do a lot of times in the summertime, I might put these two in there together, Celsius and Certainty. Now these are just for your warm season lawns. Don't use these on the cool season lawns. But this kind of goes into the strategy of what we're doing. Hopefully my applications I've done earlier in the year, I've got the weeds under control. And what I'm left with is maybe I've got some spurge popping up. Maybe there's some chamber bitter, maybe there's some Virginia buttonweed, but a lot of times you end up with nut sedge. So I got a combination like this where the Certainty is a good product for sedges, for the nut sedge, for Kalinga, and then you mix in there a broadleaf product like Celsius or like Change Up, and that combination is going to be effective on a lot of weeds and not as one that's as likely to cause discoloration to lawn even in warmer temperatures. So that's a combination I'm going to use. So the point is on weed control, you got a product like that. Maybe if you're more concerned, you can wait until the evening when it's cooled off a little bit, early in the morning. Don't use as much surfactant if you're worried about burning the lawn, and then don't get out there and do a blanket application on lawn unless you just feel like you need to do that. All right, the fourth tip is water. I mean, this sounds like a no-brainer, but maybe not as common sense as it should be. Let's talk about how to water and why that we don't recommend watering in the evening time. The other day, I went to a customer's lawn and they had a lot of nut sedge in the lawn. And then I've seen lawns and they have dollar spot, which is a type of fungus that's very common this time of year. And I go look at the yard that had the nut sedge problem, and I said, you mind if I look at your irrigation system? I did. They had it running 5 days a week. If you're running the irrigation 5 days a week, then nut sedge is probably going to be a problem. If you're running the irrigation system in the evening time, the problem with that is that water can sit on the grass overnight without drying out. And yes, the lawn's able to take it in, but that water on the leaf all night long can definitely lead to fungus. A dollar spot is a very common one. So when you see a lawn that looks like this, I mean, you can actually see where there's some like lower spots in the yard. You see like the water runs down there. Okay, so that's greener. And as you get closer to the sidewalk here, the pavement, then it's probably hard compacted dirt, and plus it's getting the heat off of this. I mean, so this is just getting cooked. Now it's not dead. It's hard for Bermuda grass. It is extremely drought tolerant. But when you got this hard compacted soil, a good soaking once a week on this Bermuda grass lawn would be helpful. And I recommend 30 minutes per day once a week. I should say 30 minutes per week. No, yeah, I thought 30 minutes per day. But just run it once a week, 30 minutes, set it for 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning where it can soak it up. But then the sun comes out and will evaporate it so it doesn't sit on there and cause more fungus problems. Maybe there's some situations where you need to water more than that, but if you water once a week and then we get some rain occasionally, then I think that will definitely help your lawn compared to this situation where it's not getting enough water. The fifth thing I want to mention, and I've done some videos on here where I go in there and we try to transform a lawn, okay? It's just full of weeds, just got every weed, been neglected for years. And there's a time to do that. I mean, ideally for me, if I can do a yard like that, like in January or February, I can go in there and just blanket it. The grass is mostly dormant for a warm season grass. So I can put a lot of stuff on there with little concern about damage that I might cause to that dormant Bermuda grass. But this time of year, temperatures are warmer, and if you've got a yard that's been neglected, it's just full of crabgrass and every other weed, especially these grassy weeds and Dallas grass, you know, it's really not the time to go for that home run transformation. Matter of fact, I'll tell my customers, I'm like, you know, if they sign up right now, I might go in there and fertilize, I might not. I might actually try to talk them into a new customer. I might say, hey, you know, I'm happy to start now. We can do some things to help it a little bit, but your yard is totally loaded with crabgrass from years of neglect. So what I might even recommend is that we wait and start with that fall application. Let me put the fall pre-emergent down. A lot of this crabgrass is gonna die this winter. Next January, February, I'm talking my Alabama time frame here, we're gonna put down pre-emergent to get ahead of a lot of this crabgrass. So I think we can have it looking good. I don't wanna get out here and fertilize and blanket spray all this crabgrass and not kill it. Now, the exception is some people use a product called MSMA, which is no longer legal on residential properties. In the summertime on a Bermuda grass yard, it can clean up those grassy weeds, but it's not legally allowed to be used on residential properties. So without using that product, just going out there with quinclorac, which is a commonly used product to clean up crabgrass, it can be challenging with hot temperatures to actually kill the crabgrass. You may discolor, you may damage, you may do multiple applications, you know, but a lot of work. Where in my situation, I'm saying, hey, if I can talk the customer into it, we may just wait and start in the fall. The sixth thing I want to mention is about seeding a lawn. Now, I don't talk a lot about seeding warm grass lawns, but I have heard some success stories. I had a customer a year or two ago that they seeded zoysia in a patch of yard, and I've had people ask me about seeding zoysia. I said, you know, listen, I personally don't know anybody who's successfully grown zoysia from seed, but believe it or not, they did it. Now they sodded part of it with zoysia, they seeded part of it with zoysia. The part that was sodded looks way better than the part was seeded, but they actually got some zoysia to grow with the seed. It doesn't look great, but you know, I would say moderately successful. But I've also seen pictures of somebody that seeded centipede grass, and it turned out pretty good. Now it took a lot of water and a lot of things had to go right, but the point being, if you got a warm season lawn, the summer is probably your best chance to try to seed your grass. So with a cool season lawns, you know, fall's probably going to be a lot better opportunity, and maybe spring being your second best opportunity. But with our warm season grass, it needs to be hot. So if you want to try to do it, do it. But what I tell people don't do is like for instance, this Bermuda grass we've been looking at. This is a hybrid Bermuda grass. So that, like, you can't buy this as seed. These are sterile seed heads. We looked at the seed heads. So it's not reproducing by seed. So you don't want to come in here and dump some other kind of Bermuda grass in here on top of this to thicken it up. You know, that's kind of the cool season grass mindset, at least I think it is. So don't do that on this, because you end up mixing two different kind of grasses. And what would be a better option is, in this situation, is to put the nutrients to the turf and see if we can get it to spread and get healthier, and it'll fill in a lot when it's hot weather, and put the water to it, things of that nature, to make it look healthier, and not coming in there and dumping some seed and mixing grass types, because that's not what we're going for. But again, if you're going to seed your warm season grasses, summer hot weather is probably the best time to do it. You're going to have to water it like crazy until it germinates, and then water it, you know, like crazy some more to get it to actually start growing. And the seventh thing I want to mention is fertilizer. Again, you can look at the example that we've looked at in this video. The main problem with this yard, I think, compacted soil, not enough water, but maybe another problem is just not enough fertilizer on this yard, and it making it go to seed quicker than it should. So, you know, there's other things. Sometimes you may put fertilizer on a lawn and it's just really not responding, and perhaps the pH is too low, too acidic of soil, and that can basically prevent the grass, my understanding at least, prevent the grass from being able to utilize the nutrients that are there. So it still is going to look kind of pathetic like it sort of does at the moment. But I believe in this situation, without doing a soil test, you could put the fertilizer on this and crank up the water, and you would get a response within a few weeks with hot weather, water, and nutrients. So if you want it to grow you fertilize it, but think all these factors in here together. Go back to tip number 1. Let's don't fertilize it and water it like crazy and not be willing to mow it regular. You know, it starts growing like crazy and you're only willing to mow it every 2 weeks and you cut it back down, you're gonna end up with a brown yard likely because you're stressing it out from not mowing enough. So yeah, fertilizer is great, but don't fertilize it too much unless you're willing to mow it at the same time. Thanks for watching the video. Hopefully these tips have helped you. You can leave some more in the comments or questions. If you hadn't done so, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to get in weed control and fertilization like me or mowing grass, whatever, go to linecarelife.com. That's where you'll find resources, video courses, the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy, pricing charts. And you also have information on the Line Care Life Conference, which is an event that we put on. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.